Will the Canon EOS R5 get a rotating electronic viewfinder? Or will that high-level top-shelf capability be reserved for cameras such as the Canon EOS R1, Canon's flagship camera that's due to be released in early 2024? But first, please do me a favor. Follow me on Twitter or X or whatever they're calling themselves these days. But most importantly, please subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost you anything. It really helps this channel grow, and it keeps you up to date on the latest camera gear, news, and rumors. We've got a very exciting patent application. It's from Canon and it's publication number JP 2023-104712 Alpha. And it aims to reduce the size of an electronic viewfinder while enhancing its capabilities by allowing it to rotate within the housing. The patent application is very detailed with lots of diagrams and text explaining what the problem they're trying to resolve and how they plan on going about it. It changes the dimensions. It rethinks how, as photographers and videographers, we use the EVF to capture the shot. If you're not excited by this patent application, this new capability of a rotating EVF, then think back about 10 to 12 years before we had flippy screens, before we had 4-axis tilt LCDs like we do with the Sony a7R5. The Sony a7R5 with its 4-axis tilt screen functions as a flippy screen, but also allows the LCD to be flipped out from almost every angle, whether we're shooting in portrait or landscape, whether we need to get down low or up high. It's just the perfect way of being able to represent that LCD the way we need it. This does the exact same thing for the EVF, and that's why this is such a big deal. I know what some people are probably thinking, yeah, this sounds like a gimmick, a rotating EVF. Please, come on, who would want to see something like that? And those sort of comments kind of remind me back when we first got our first flippy screen. People said, yeah, that's a toy, it's a gimmick. You're not going to see that on professional level cameras such as the Canon EOS R5 or the R3, and sure enough, we have a flippy screen there. And then somebody decided to come out with a 4-axis tilt LCD. The Sony a7R5 is one camera that comes to mind, and now you solve all the problems with an LCD being out to the side. You can shoot landscape or portrait. You can do all this without getting down on the ground, without getting up high on a ladder. It really gives you that flexibility, and yet there are some cases where you are going to have to get up high and use a ladder. But you know what I'm getting at here? It just simplifies things. So a rotating EVF is kind of what the rotating or not rotating, but the 4-axis LCD has done to the LCD. It's removed it from the back where it wouldn't move to improving the customer experience. And if you actually take the time to review this patent application, I do have a link in the description down below, the level of detail throughout is quite impressive. So much so that Canon Rumors thinks that it's so well thought up that this could very well show up in a new Canon camera in the near future. And when Canon Rumors thinks it's going to be a capability to come out in Canon's EOS R system cameras in the near future, don't expect it to be in anything entry-level or mid-level. Don't expect it to be in an R8 successor, or if Canon decides to come out with an entry-level full-frame camera that sits below the R8, don't expect it to be there. I wouldn't even expect it to see in an R6-like camera. But the R5 Mark II, well, see, that camera is planned to be announced sometime late in the fourth quarter to the first quarter of 2024. And it's a pro-level camera. The 5 Series camera is the type of camera we'd expect to see this rotating EVF to be. And that would be pretty exciting. But there's another camera that we're expected to be getting, and that's to be probably announced in the first quarter of 2024, and to be available, start shipping sometime late in Q1 or early Q2, just in time for the Paris 2024 Olympics. And that camera, as you probably already guessed, is the flagship camera, the Canon EOS R1. What better way to show off the Canon EOS R1 as being the master of everything than with a new EVF, a rotating EVF. So if you're still thinking this seems like a stretch, take a look at the Leica M11. It uses this technology in the rangefinder, and according to Craig Blair, who's used this camera, it makes getting down lower a heck of a lot quicker and easier. And you see, that's the thing. It improves the customer experience, especially for us old fogies, where, you know, getting down takes a little bit more time and getting up takes even longer. A lot of us photographers, we're a little bit older in age. And yes, I know, I can tell from the data that I get from you watching this channel that I have a lot of viewers from the 20 to 30 range and the 20 to 35 range, but there's an awful lot more viewers that are from 35 years of age all the way up to, well, as far as YouTube tracks data. This is, I think, a big deal. This improves that customer experience, just like having a 4-axis LCD or a flippy screen to the LCD help change how we use the LCD. This will help change how we see the EVF and how we use the camera when we're using the EVF. Just imagine that. Now, with most cameras, even in bright sunlight, the level of brightness, or measured in nits, isn't bright enough that we can accurately see how the color is, the exposure is, and that's why we like to use the EVF. But if you've ever tried shooting, whether it be stills or video, when you're looking through the EVF and you're trying to crunch down, it has got to be the most uncomfortable thing in the world. Well, I don't doubt that this capability could show up in the Canon EOS R1, Canon's new flagship camera. That is no secret that they've even mentioned that they're working on. I'd really love to see this in the Canon EOS R5 Mark II. The Canon EOS R5 Mark II, to have this capability, I think that's a really big deal. Now, what do you think? How would that change your perception of either camera, the Canon EOS R5 Mark II or the Canon EOS R1? I don't know, I'm getting excited about this. When I first saw this morning, I saw a whole bunch of news come out. There's an awful lot of news coming out today, a lot of minor stuff. And I saw what Canon Rumors had put out and I thought, yeah, okay, and I didn't do anything with it. But then I really thought about it and I thought, wow, this would really change things. This would really improve the customer experience. And I thought about the evolution of the LCD on cameras and how it changed things. From the very first LCD on the camera, where we could see in high resolution what our photos looked like without having to take them into the computer. If you're old enough to remember how big of a deal that was, yeah, that was impressive. And then being able to detach that LCD, to be able to flip it out, to be able to rotate it, and then to have a 4-axis LCD like the one we see on the Sony A7R5, it really changed things. Now, to imagine that we could see this in an EVF on a Canon camera, this isn't some sort of science fiction technology, a patent that's been filed just to protect research. We see this. We see this in the Leica M11. It's like quad pixel autofocus. It was theory up until, what was it, Fujifilm or OM Systems put it out. I can't remember which camera got it. I think it was the OM1 that got quad pixel autofocus, although it could be the Panasonic GH6. I can't remember which camera, but it's the same thing with this rotating EVF. Canon won't be the first to market, and because they've got a Canon or the patent application, what that tells me is this is a little bit different than the implementation on the Leica M11. So if you're excited by this and you want to stay up to date on the latest camera news and rumors, whether it be rumors on the new upcoming Canon EOS R5 Mark II, the Canon EOS R1, or patent applications that could lead to or hint at capabilities coming out in the latest new Canon cameras such as the R1 and again the EOS R5 Mark II, then go ahead and subscribe, but make sure you also choose all notifications. And for all the minor news and rumors, all that stuff that isn't quite big enough to have its own separate story, well then go ahead and follow me on X or Twitter. I'm a little bit confused by their branding because you can still type in twitter.com and you go to Twitter and it shows as Twitter in the URL. If you type in x.com, it redirects to twitter.com, not the other way around. And of course, there is some licensing problems right now because Elon Musk actually doesn't have the trademark, the rights to use X. That's by many other companies, I believe. So there might be some problems to work out. And the companies that own the trademark, they're multi-billion-dollar companies too, so they're not going to let it go without a fight. Anyhow, so that's it for now. Thank you. Oh, one other thing I want to talk to you about. There are a huge amount of deals right now, a huge amount of sales on it, Adorama and B&H. All cameras from Canon, Sony, Nikon. There was huge deals. The Canon EOS R5 was $850 off, but right now it's only $200 off. But if you like this channel, you like camera deals, then use the links that I have down below. By doing that, I get anywhere from 2 to 12% back, and that goes right back into this channel, buying lights, buying new cameras, such as the EOS R5 Mark II, the Canon EOS R1, and if I do well enough with these affiliate links, then I'm going to look at buying the Nikon Z8 and start expanding my purchasing outside of Canon, which I think it's been one of the goals of my channel for a very long time. I don't want to just have Canon equipment. I want to be able to shoot with Nikon, Panasonic, Sony. I want to be able to understand what it's like to have these cameras and like them, and to see through your eyes what it's like to shoot with a Nikon, with a Sony, with a Panasonic. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and have yourself a great weekend. Cheers.